Hey everyone, welcome. On this channel, we're going to get into an advanced look at the story Disastrous Necromancer. Come with me as we unravel the journey of Lin Moyu, from his beginnings to him becoming a force to be reckoned with in a mysterious new world. If this story sounds like something you'll enjoy, please like, share, and comment. Your support helps us keep providing these in-depth looks into the world of Disastrous Necromancer. Now let's continue.
The war god fortress navigated through deep space, returning to reunite with the main army. The Sword Saint Sovereign looked displeased. Why did you stop me? The Tien Saint Sovereign whispered, do you really want to fight the Demon Lord? The Sword Saint Sovereign snorted, why not? The Tien Saint Sovereign replied, you are not his match, there's no need to fight. The Sword Saint Sovereign, full of defiance, said, how do you know if we haven't fought? The Tien Saint Sovereign said, go back and spar with Elder Shing. You'll understand. Elder Shing and the Demon Lord are of similar strength. The Sword Saint Sovereign huffed, even if I can't win, I should at least try to gauge his strength. The War Saint Sovereign, sitting nearby, spoke softly, you've seen the power of the War God Spear. If it can be easily blocked, it already proves his strength. At this moment, the War Saint Sovereign's voice was somewhat ethereal, his face pale, showing signs of overexertion. Even as a Saint Sovereign, continuously activating the War God Spear twice was a significant burden. With his combat power, he could activate it 3 times at most before exhausting all his strength. Now, having activated it twice, his strength was more than half depleted, and he was in the process of recovery. The Sword Saint Sovereign glanced at the War Saint Sovereign, opened her mouth to speak but then closed it, unusually refraining from arguing. She knew how powerful the War God Spear was. Using it as a benchmark, she indeed wasn't a match for the Demon Lord. The gap was vast. Previously, she was just indignant. Why should they retreat just because the Demon Lord said a few words? The Tien Saint Sovereign said, since the Demon Lord said Lin Xiaoyu is fine, then he should be fine. I guess he has met Elder Shing, and they must have reached some understanding. In that case, let's return and wait. I believe it won't be long before Lin Xiaoyu comes back. The Silent Sha Saint Sovereign suddenly spoke, is there no way to deal with the Demon Lord? The Hao Saint Sovereign gently shook his head, unless a Supreme intervenes, there's no way to deal with the Demon Lord. Otherwise, the War God wouldn't have spared the demon race back then. The War Saint Sovereign sighed, back then, the War God indeed intended to exterminate the demon race and several other races. Unfortunately, their foundations forced him to stop. Not only the demon race but also the Golden Eagle race and the Bull Demon race had such foundations. The Saint Sovereigns were well aware that being called a strong race wasn't simple. The Hao Saint Sovereign's eyes were filled with longing. If Lin Xiaoyu can restore the divine path, perhaps he can deal with them. The Saint Sovereigns felt helpless. Restoring the divine path was extremely difficult. Even Xiao Zhanshan couldn't do it back then. They had all tried but failed. In the great world, all the divine paths were destroyed, except for the human race's divine path, which seemed to have a glimmer of hope. But this hope was too slim. After the War God Fortress returned, the human race's army did not retreat, maintaining high pressure on the demon race. Before Lin Moyu returned, the army would not withdraw. They believed the Demon Lord's words but not entirely. Lin Moyu did not delay, following the star map's shortest route, quickly flying towards the human star domain. Days turned into years. In front of the human race's army, the War God Fortress, which had been silent for years, suddenly moved. It disappeared into the starry sky again, diving into deep space. Lin Moyu vibrated his undead wings, continuously breaking through space, leaving a trail of shattered gaps. Suddenly, he stopped, it seems something is approaching. Through space, he sensed changes in deep space. Over the years, although he had been on the move, continuously vibrating his undead wings had made him increasingly proficient in the laws of space, improving his mastery. Combined with his extremely sensitive soul, even the slightest spatial changes could trigger his senses. Shortly after Lin Moyu stopped, space twisted not far away, and the War God Fortress appeared. Familiar auras emanated from the fortress, and the Hao Saint Sovereign, Tien Saint Sovereign, and War Saint Sovereign appeared on the fortress. Lin Moyu was overjoyed, greetings, Saint Sovereigns. The Hao Saint Sovereign was in a good mood, it's good to have you back. The Tien Saint Sovereign smiled and nodded, let's go, we can talk on the way, you've been out for years, it's time to go home. Returning home, stepping into the War God Fortress, Lin Moyu felt a different mood. He asked, did the Saint Sovereigns come specifically to pick me up? The War Saint Sovereign glanced at Lin Moyu, of course, you could say you're the most honored person in the human race in tens of thousands of years. Lin Moyu was puzzled. I don't understand. The Hao Saint sovereign smiled and explained what they had done over the years. Hearing that they had mobilized the army to relieve his pressure, Lin Moyu was deeply moved. With Lin Moyu's return, the human race's army received orders to begin withdrawing. The War God Fortress took Lin Moyu directly back to the Divine City Star Domain. Over the years, the Sword Saint Sovereign and Sha Saint Sovereign had left for other matters, and most of the other Shore Realm experts had also returned. Only the War, Hao, and Tian Saint Sovereigns remained in the War God Fortress. At their inquiry, Lin Moyu recounted his experiences in the Outer Domain. Hearing that Lin Moyu had encountered Red Star Supreme, Shanlin Supreme, and even managed to cripple Shanlin Supreme, eventually chasing him into the Soul Spirit battleship until his death, they were all incredulous. Lin Moyu's experiences sounded like mythological stories, things others wouldn't encounter in a lifetime, yet Lin Moyu had faced them all in just a few decades. The three Saint Sovereigns looked at each other, speechless. The Hao Saint Sovereign said, I also traveled in the Outer Domain for hundreds of years in my early days, but I didn't experience as much as you. The War Saint Sovereign snorted, it's not like I haven't been there. Who hasn't? The Tian Saint Sovereign laughed, different people, different fates. The Tian Saint Sovereign had also been to the Outer Domain many times, often going on spiritual journeys, but he had never seen Red Star Supreme or Shanlin Supreme. It had to be said, Lin Moyu's luck was unique. Whether good or bad, it was his luck. Lin Moyu took out the box left by the Soul Spirit race. I don't know what this box is for. I can't open it. The three Saint Sovereigns examined the box carefully. The Hao Saint Sovereign frowned. This box is made using ancient talisman techniques combined with time stones. The combination makes the box extremely sturdy, and the items inside are unaffected by time. Even in that era, only extremely precious items would be preserved this way. Among the three, the Hao Saint Sovereign was the most knowledgeable and quickly analyzed the box's situation. Hearing his explanation, they became even more curious about the box's contents. What could be so precious that ancient strong beings would treasure it so? Unfortunately, they could see but not open it. The Hao Saint Sovereign said, when we get back, let the Talisman Saint Sovereign take a look. Maybe he can find a way. If not, we can ask Elder Shing. Lin Moyu nodded, there's one more thing. Luos Shen has awakened. The three Saint Sovereigns looked over simultaneously. The War Saint Sovereign asked, the hybrid princess of the Starry Sky Fish race? Yes, it's her. Luos Shen is one of the most legendary figures in the past 10,000 years. Her father was a human, and her mother was a princess of the Starry Sky Fish race. This princess was not an ordinary princess, she had awakened her bloodline and comprehended the laws of space. In the Starry Sky Fish race, her status was very high, making it impossible for her to marry outside the race. No one knows what methods the human used, but the princess eloped with him. The two disappeared for many years. Eventually, the princess did not return, and only the human man came back, bringing with him a daughter named Luos Shen. When Luos Shen returned, she was still a child. Originally, the Starry Sky Fish race would never have allowed a mixed blood like Luos Shen to exist. However, Luos Shen was born with an awakened bloodline and mastered the laws of space. At that time, the Starry Sky Fish race was in a peculiar phase where none of the royal bloodlines were awakening. Only a few elders in the race still mastered the laws of space, but they were nearing the end of their lives. If they all passed away, the Starry Sky Fish race would have no one left to control the laws of space, which would be a terrifying disaster for them. After much deliberation, they accepted Luos Shen, making her the only mixed-blood princess in the Starry Sky Fish race. Initially, her status was low, and she was ostracized by the clan. However, as her strength grew, her status gradually stabilized, and her power increased. Interestingly, after Luos Shen's arrival, the royal bloodlines of the Starry Sky Fish race began to awaken again. More and more people awakened their bloodlines, and the elders believed it was due to Luos Shen's good fortune. Eventually, Luos Shen reached the Saint Sovereign level, becoming the youngest and most powerful Saint Sovereign in the Starry Sky Fish race. Later, Luos Shen left the Starry Sky Fish race and disappeared. Lin Moyu recounted Luos Shen's experiences. The Hao Saint Sovereign said, so she encountered Shanlin Supreme and was severely injured by a sneak attack. The Tian Saint Sovereign laughed, the Soul Pearl drifted in the starry sky and was obtained by you. Shanlin Supreme died because of you, and finally, Luos Shen was revived because of you. In this way, you are Luos Shen's savior. The War Saint Sovereign gave Lin Moyu a playful look. I once met Luos Shen. She is very beautiful. You saved her. Did she offer herself to you? If she did, you should accept. Our human race isn't that conservative, it's fine. The Hao Saint Sovereign also said seriously, this is acceptable. Lin Moyu was both amused and exasperated. These Saint Sovereigns, usually so serious and aloof, suddenly became like this. Lin Moyu didn't respond to their teasing. I feel like Luos Shen is searching for something in the outer domain. The Tian Saint Sovereign, known for his knowledge, said, I know about this. Luos Shen is looking for her mother's whereabouts. Not only her, but her father is also searching. The War Saint Sovereign and the Tian Saint Sovereign looked over, their eyes filled with curiosity. Old Hao, how do you know this? If I remember correctly, you were the one who told us about Luos Shen back then. I found it strange at the time. How do you know so much about Luos Shen? They stared at the Hao Saint Sovereign as if they had discovered a new continent. The Hao Saint Sovereign remained calm. It's nothing, just some old stories. Luos Shen's father, Luo Qishan, was my friend. All these things were told to me by Luo Qishan. After he sent Luos Shen back, he came to see me. Lin Moyu found it odd. If the Hao Saint Sovereign was friends with Luos Shen's father, why didn't he ask for the Soul Pearl when he knew it was in Lin Moyu's possession? Given his abilities, the chances of reviving Luos Shen would have been higher. But the Hao Saint Sovereign acted as if he knew nothing, said nothing, and did nothing. Sensing Lin Moyu's gaze, the Hao Saint Sovereign slowly explained, Luo Qishan and Luos Shen's mother fled to the outer domain. Later, they encountered an accident, and Luos Shen's mother disappeared, leaving only Luos Shen. Luo Qishan naturally wanted to search for her but didn't want Luos Shen to encounter any accidents, so he sent her back. Afterward, he came to see me, had a drink with me before leaving, and told me the whole story. There's one more thing you don't know. The lifespan of the Starry Skyfish race's Saint Sovereigns is only 5,000 years. Everyone was shocked. The War Saint Sovereign blurted out, so short? The lifespan of a Saint Sovereign, barring accidents, generally ranges from 30,000 to 50,000 years. Different races have different lifespans, but most fall within this range. Only some special plant-based races can live longer, up to 70,000 or 80,000 years. But saying a Saint Sovereign can only live 5,000 years is too short, only about 1/10 of the normal lifespan. Lin Moyu's heart skipped a beat. He thought of the Starry Sky Spirit race. He speculated, could it be because the Starry Sky Fish race was also created by a celestial sovereign, so their lifespan is particularly short? He felt it was possible. Creating life is an act against the heavens. After all, a celestial sovereign is not the heavens. For such unnatural beings, a shorter lifespan is understandable. The Tian Saint Sovereign said, but Luos Shen's lifespan is more than 5,000 years. The Hao Saint Sovereign nodded, yes, that's because Luos Shen has human blood, making her different from other Starry Skyfish race members. Luos Shen's mother also seemed to have her lifespan altered due to Luo Qishan's influence. Luo Qishan believes his wife is still alive, so he has been searching in the outer domain. It seems Luos Shen is also searching for her parents, which is why she went to the outer domain. However, Luos Shen reached the Saint Sovereign level and waited until a second Saint Sovereign appeared in the Starry Sky Fish race before leaving. Lin Moyu nodded secretly. In this way, Luos Shen had long repaid her debt of gratitude. From his brief interaction with Luos Shen, Lin Moyu could tell she was a person who valued loyalty and righteousness. As they chatted along the way, Lin Moyu listened more and spoke less. The Saint Sovereigns had experienced much over thousands of years, and their stories provided Lin Moyu with a wealth of information. Upon returning to the Divine City Star Domain, Lin Moyu left the War God Fortress. He then boarded the Hao Saint Sovereign's warship to return to the core area, while the War God Fortress was taken away by the War Saint Sovereign. The War God Fortress originally belonged to the War God Hall and was usually under the War Saint Sovereign's control. Feeling the familiar atmosphere of the Divine City Star Domain and seeing the bustling star systems, Lin Moyu felt the peaceful beauty of the human race. A race that can live peacefully and steadily is a happy one. War is terrifying. Once it descends, countless lives will be sacrificed. Lin Moyu hoped that such disasters would not befall the human race again. The Hao Saint Sovereign said, when you return to the Divine City, take a good rest. There are still matters to discuss with you. Lin Moyu nodded, all right, I'll organize my findings from this trip and then come to see you. The Hao Saint Sovereign smiled, no rush, no rush. Rest well first. The Tian Saint Sovereign also smiled, indeed, no rush. We've waited thousands of years for this matter, there's no hurry. The warship returned to the Divine City, and Lin Moyu, who had just relaxed, suddenly tensed up, his brows slightly furrowed. With a questioning look in his eyes, he asked, is my sister not here? He did not sense Lin Moyu Han's presence. She was not in the Divine City. The Hao Saint Sovereign explained, 3 years ago, your sister woke up and reached the 9th stage of God Sovereign. The Sword Saint Sovereign asked for her opinion, and with her permission, took her to train. Lin Moyu asked, where did they go? The Hao Saint Sovereign replied, they went to the Sword Realm. The Sword Realm is an independent space left from ancient times, once the site of an ancient sect. Later, we discovered it and obtained part of its inheritance, but some of it remains unexplored. Rest assured, there's no danger inside. If your sister is lucky, she might obtain the sect's ultimate inheritance, which would be a great fortune. Lin Moyu had no doubts about the Hao Saint Sovereign's words and murmured, it's good that there's no danger. The Tian Saint Sovereign added, in the high-level area of the Divine City, there's a sect called the Heavenly Sword Sect. Its founder obtained an inheritance called the Heavenly Sword from the Sword Realm and established the sect. With that inheritance, he cultivated to the other shore realm and almost became a Saint Sovereign. According to him, the Heavenly Sword was just a medium-level inheritance of that sect. In ancient times, there were many sects with numerous and powerful inheritances. If one could obtain a strong and suitable inheritance, it would indeed be a great opportunity. Lin Moyu originally wanted his sister to try the Soul Sword sect's inheritance, but it seemed he would have to wait for another time. There was no rush. I wonder which is stronger compared to the Soul Sword sect's inheritance. Lin Moyu pondered, but there was no way to compare the two. Returning to the central hall, the Talisman Saint Sovereign, who had received the news early, was waiting there. He asked eagerly, where is it? The Talisman Saint Sovereign's greatest interest in life was studying runes, especially ancient runes. Unfortunately, complete ancient runes were too rare, which was a great regret for him. Now, with a complete ancient rune in front of him, how could the Talisman Saint Sovereign not be excited? The Hao Saint Sovereign tossed the box to the Talisman Saint Sovereign, why the rush? The Talisman Saint Sovereign replied, it's a rare material, how can I not be in a hurry? He hugged the box, his eyes gleaming as he scanned it, growing more excited the more he looked. In the next moment, he turned into a stream of light and disappeared from everyone's sight, heading to his training room to study the runes. The others present chuckled. To the Talisman Saint Sovereign, the contents of the box were not important. The runes on the box were what mattered. The Hao Saint Sovereign said, I hope he can figure it out. If not, we can ask Elder Shing. Lin Moyu thought to himself, if it doesn't work, I'll just smash it. Since the contents are so precious, they should be sturdy. I'll just be careful and smash it a few more times. Lin Moyu had confidence in the Scourge Staff, it was perfect for smashing things. Thinking of the Scourge Staff, Lin Moyu remembered the Soul Spirit world he had visited. The Soul Spirit beasts there could be absorbed to enhance the Soul Gem, allowing it to truly awaken. Lin Moyu thought he should find time to visit the Soul Spirit world again, perhaps he could gain something there. Having said and discussed everything along the way, Lin Moyu returned to his training room. He needed to organize his gains and had some new insights into the laws of space. By organizing them well, his mastery of the laws of space would surely improve. Compared to the laws of space, the laws of time were what troubled Lin Moyu. Space could at least be sensed, but time was always fleeting, making it difficult to grasp. Currently, Lin Moyu could only speed up time a bit, and only his own time, which had no practical use. Clearing his mind, Lin Moyu organized himself, letting his body and mind completely calm down. The dust from the journey was washed away, and his energy, spirit, and vigor quickly returned to their peak state. In his soul world, the Lost Star River of Space Laws appeared, and his own tributary grew thicker. Lin Moyu estimated that his mastery of the laws of space had reached about 15%. However, he had made no progress with the laws of time, which was a complete failure of his plan to advance both simultaneously. A few days later, the space around Lin Moyu suddenly changed, and a teleportation array formed above his head. In the next second, the teleportation array activated, and Lin Moyu disappeared from his training room. In a flash, Lin Moyu saw the familiar sea of laws and smiled wryly, Elder Shing, aren't you afraid I'll go mad? The moment the teleportation array appeared, he had already reacted. If he had resisted slightly, he wouldn't have been teleported away. From the teleportation array, Lin Moyu sensed Elder Xing's aura, so he didn't resist. Elder Shing glanced at him, with your soul quality, are you afraid of going mad? Lin Moyu laughed, why are you in such a hurry? I was planning to come to see you in a few days. Elder Shing snorted, I'm old and impatient. Is there a problem with that? Lin Moyu dared not say there was a problem. The person before him was a true big shot of the human race. Although he didn't manage anything, he was a trump card. Tell me about your experiences in the outer domain. This old man wants to hear. Elder Shing said while fishing, his ears already perked up. Lin Moyu began to recount his story, repeating what he had told the Saint Sovereigns, with only a few minor details omitted. Elder Shing was also interested in ancient matters, as curious as the Saint Sovereigns. Moreover, Elder Shing knew more than the Saint Sovereigns, allowing him to analyze more systematically. As Lin Moyu recounted his experiences, he also waited for Elder Xing's insights, which would provide him with more information. Elder Shing thought for a long time before exhaling deeply. Lin Moyu could sense his complex emotions, causing fluctuations in the Lost Star Sea. Elder Shing said, "You are very fortunate to have met Red Star Supreme. You have also filled in some gaps about ancient events. Shanlin Supreme deserved to die. You did well. Many people who died at his hands over the years can finally rest in peace." On the way back, Lin Moyu had taken out the human race corpses he had obtained from Shanlin Supreme. The Human Emperor Network could identify their true identities, allowing them to return to their roots. Elder Shing continued, "As for the items obtained from the Soul Spirit battleship, let's see if the Talisman Saint Sovereign can figure them out. If not, I'll think of something. The items inside should be very precious. Such a box was considered precious even in ancient times, so it won't contain anything useless. Moreover, the fact that it was entrusted to the Soul Spirit race indicates that some agreement was likely made. The secret might be inside the box. You have mastered some space laws, which is good. When you can freely open space gates, you can explore the outer domain again. You might gain more." Listening to Elder Shing, Lin Moyu couldn't help but ask, "Elder Shing, what exactly is the outer domain like?" Elder Shing laughed, his smile somewhat peculiar. He looked up at the sky, which reflected the light of the Sea of Laws, hazy and resembling a starry sky, dotted with countless points of light. Then, a star map appeared in mid-air. Lin Moyu had seen this star map before. It was the star map of the inner domain. It marked the positions of various races, the size of their occupied star domains, and their spheres of influence, all clearly detailed. Then the star map began to expand, growing larger and larger. As the star map expanded, the proportion of the inner domain's star domain became smaller and smaller. Lin Moyu was greatly astonished. He had imagined the outer domain to be vast, but he hadn't expected it to be this vast. As Lin Moyu was shocked, the star map continued to expand until it filled the entire top and finally stopped. At this point, the proportion of the inner domain's star domain was less than 1%. 99% of the entire star map was outer space. Elder Shing smiled and said, "Do you think the outer space is just this big?" Lin Moyu whispered, "Isn't it?" Elder Shing laughed heartily, "Of course not, it's far from it. In fact, no one knows how big the outer space is." At this point, Elder Shing drew a range on the star map with his hand, roughly several times larger than the inner domain's star domain. Elder Shing explained, "Our inner domain's starry sky, at its longest diameter, is no more than 2 million light-years. In ancient times, the inner domain's space was even larger, with a diameter of about 3 million light-years. Don't be fooled by the small increase. At that time, 3 million light-years was the territory of our human race, so the alien races were all outside this 3 million light-year range." Lin Moyu was astonished. Within a 3 million light-year range, how many star systems, resources, and populations must there have been? It was an incredibly vast number. Looking at the current star domain occupied by the human race, it barely exceeded 500,000 light-years. Compared to ancient times, it was a world of difference. Elder Shing continued, "The ancient wars were very brutal. Countless star systems were destroyed, resources became scarcer, and the star domain shrank. But this had no impact on the outer space." Finally getting to the main point, Lin Moyu perked up his ears to listen carefully. "You also know that the human race once occupied multiple worlds. The human race extracted the origins of these worlds and invested them into the Great World, causing the Great World to continuously expand. But the expansion speed of the Great World was too fast, far exceeding the expansion speed of the human race. And the birth of resources takes time. These resources haven't had time to be born and are not suitable for living beings to cultivate and grow, which is the outer space. From ancient times to now, the star domains suitable for cultivation and growth have become smaller and smaller, but the expansion of the Great World has never stopped. Who can know how big the outer space is?" Lin Moyu was astonished, "So the Great World has always been expanding." Elder Shing said, "The area I marked is the farthest region the human race has ever reached, about 1 million light-years from the inner domain. You reached there this time due to the space turmoil, perhaps even exceeding the 1 million light-year boundary. As the distance increases, the volume of the starry sky increases exponentially, making it almost impossible to explore every region." Lin Moyu knew that even in ancient times, no celestial sovereign had fully explored the outer space. Perhaps only by becoming the master of the great world could one know all the details of the outer space. Even if he fully mastered the laws of space, he might reach the world's boundary, but that would only be a temporary boundary. Because the world is still expanding, the current boundary is not the true border. Lin Moyu asked, since resources can regenerate, why has our star domain been shrinking from ancient times to now, while the outer space remains desolate? Elder Shing rolled his eyes at Lin Moyu. How would I know? I'm not a celestial sovereign. Resource regeneration is just a record from ancient times. I haven't seen it with my own eyes. But I can tell you that over the years, our star domain has been gradually shrinking. Apart from the reasons of war, resources are indeed decreasing, and the occupied star domain is also shrinking. I've calculated that in the last 100,000 years, our star domain has shrunk by about 100,000 light years. Currently, the entire star domain is about 2 million light years, and in 100,000 years, it has shrunk by 100,000 light years, losing 10,000 light years every 10,000 years. Lin Moyu was shocked. At this rate, in another 2 million years, all resources will disappear? Almost. It won't take 2 million years. I estimate that in another 100,000 years, the great world will be in complete chaos. All the strong races will take action, but the first step will definitely be to eliminate the small races. The strong races will hoard a large amount of resources for themselves. Lin Moyu could imagine that in the absence of resource regeneration, various cultivation resources would be the first to be seized. At that time, the first to fall would be the small races, who have no future and can only become the fish and meat in the hands of the strong races. At that time, there would be no sympathy, and the small races would face extinction. Elder Shing continued, then, as resources become scarcer, wars will break out among the strong races. But the wars won't happen within star systems, they will occur in the void. There will still be some tacit understanding among the strong races. The losing side's resources will be plundered, and their population will decrease. From strong races to small races, and then from small races to extinction. Elder Shing described a cruel reality, a reality that is highly likely to happen in the future. Lin Moyu asked, but even if there are more resources, they will eventually be exhausted. What will happen then? What's the difference in the outcome? Elder Shing laughed, his smile somewhat eerie. His voice became low and deep, slowly uttering a sentence, the world will be reborn. If we can survive the most difficult period, after the world's rebirth, we might gain new life. Laws will be reshaped, rules will be rebuilt, and anything is possible. Listening to these words, Lin Moyu inexplicably thought of the almost collapsing Great World runes. He suddenly realized that the world might not be reborn. The inability of resources to regenerate might be related to the severe damage to the Great World runes. If this is true, the world will not be reborn. Not only will it not be reborn, but the world might even perish. At that time, all living beings in the world will die, with no escape. But this was just Lin Moyu's speculation, and he didn't dare to say it out loud. He tentatively asked, is there any other possibility? Elder Shing said, of course there is, but the possibility is low. One possibility is that the Great World, during its expansion, encounters a new world, and we annex the new world. Just like in ancient times, we seize the origin of the new world and incorporate it into the Great World. We can also obtain all the resources of the new world. But this possibility is too small. Even if we encounter it, can we win? We don't even have a supreme now. We'd more likely be plundered. Lin Moyu knew that in ancient times, even the weakest worlds had one or two supremes. Now, without a supreme in the Great World, encountering such a small world would be a disaster, not a plunder. Elder Shing said, another possibility is that a celestial sovereign is born here, which might activate the Great World. But now that the divine path is broken, let alone a celestial sovereign, even a supreme can't be born. This possibility is even smaller. The other two possibilities mentioned by Elder Shing indeed had even smaller probabilities. Especially the second one, which might not necessarily be a good thing and could even bring disaster. Lin Moyu asked, Senior, is there a way for me to see the divine path? He had always heard that the divine path was broken, but he had no concept of what it actually looked like. Blackstone Supreme hoped he could rebuild the divine path, so he should at least get a glimpse of it. Elder Shing replied, what's the rush? When you become a Saint Sovereign, you'll naturally be able to see it. Why do I have to become a Saint Sovereign to see it? Is it because of the Soul Realm? Elder Shing shook his head, no, it's because only when you become a Saint Sovereign can you understand your own path. The divine path is both real and illusory. To those who haven't found their own path, the divine path doesn't exist. Only those who have found their own path will see the divine path. Lin Moyu roughly understood that the path Elder Shing referred to as one's own cultivation path. Every cultivator, in the end, will find a path most suitable for themselves. The path can be a law, but it doesn't have to be. It can be a certain power or a certain technique. The path is everything, and everything can become a path. For example, the Talisman Saint Sovereign entered the path through runes. The Hao Saint Sovereign entered the path through the laws of the void. The Soul Sword Sect entered the path by merging the soul with the sword. The Sword Saint Sovereign directly entered the path through the sword. Only by finding one's own path will the divine path appear. Then, relying on one's own path, one can step onto the divine path and achieve supremacy. The whole process is similar to crossing the Lost Star River and stepping onto the other shore. Elder Shing said, "Now you know, even if you see it, it's useless. The divine path is already broken." Lin Moyu asked again, "Do you know how to rebuild the divine path?" Elder Shing shook his head, "If I knew, I would have done it long ago and wouldn't have waited here for so many years." Lin Moyu couldn't quite understand Elder Shing. The lifespan of a Saint Sovereign is only about 30,000 to 50,000 years. Most human Saint Sovereigns have a lifespan of around 40,000 years, but Elder Shing seems to have lived from the time of Shao Zhanshan to the present, a full 100,000 years. Elder Shing is not a supreme, yet he possesses near supreme combat power. What exactly is Elder Xing's identity? And the mysterious demon lord of the demon race seems to be similar to Elder Shing. Elder Shing waved his hand, "Go on, you can't see the divine path until you find your own path." Lin Moyu left Elder Xing's world and returned to his training room. He sat in the training room, murmuring to himself, "What is my path?" Upon asking himself, Lin Moyu did not find the correct answer. Since he started cultivating, his goals have always been clear. Constantly cultivate, constantly become stronger. In the small world, he exterminated demons and dragons. To defy fate for his wife, he needed to become stronger. After coming to the great world, it was even more so. He even made a vow to exterminate all races and make the human race the master of the world again. But the idea of defying fate for his wife has never wavered. But now, when asked about his own path, Lin Moyu found that he had no answer. This is a very serious problem. When a cultivator loses their path, how can they talk about their Tao heart? Lin Moyu was very clear about this, but he would not be confused. My path will definitely be found. If I can't find it now, I'll keep looking until I find it. Lin Moyu's Tao heart was very firm and was not shaken by his own problem. Not finding it temporarily was not a big deal. Who isn't walking in the fog? Even those in the other shore realm may not have found their own path. Lin Moyu believed that as long as his Tao heart was firm enough, he would definitely find the path he needed. After reorganizing his thoughts and erasing the problems that couldn't be solved temporarily, Lin Moyu left the training room and flew towards the central temple. Calculating the time, it had been more than 10 days since he returned. The Talisman Saint Sovereign was still studying the ancient rune box. He seemed to have made some progress but had not yet opened it. The Tian Saint Sovereign was discussing matters with the Hao Saint Sovereign. When Lin Moyu arrived, he did not interrupt their conversation but listened quietly. They were discussing the recent situation in the great world. Various races seemed to be stimulated by the human race's recent actions and began to respond accordingly. The Bull Demon race and the Black Stone race formed an alliance. The Black Stone race is an old enemy of the human race, while the Bull Demon race has no enmity with the human race. The alliance of the two races meant that the Bull Demon race also became an enemy of the human race. In addition, the Sand race, which had been scattered for tens of thousands of years, suddenly announced their reunification. The Sand race had once split into three: the Yellow Sand, Green Sand, and Red Sand races. But now, for some unknown reason, they suddenly announced their reunification. The unified Sand race undoubtedly met the standards of a strong race, becoming a newly promoted strong race. There was also the matter of the Butterfly race seeking help from the human race due to an attack by the Python race. The human race had already sent people to help the Butterfly race. The Butterfly race has always been friends with the human race. Even 10,000 years ago, when the human race faced a great calamity, the Butterfly race did their best to help the human race. The Butterfly race has always been weak and almost faced extinction because of this. If the human race had been defeated, they would have been doomed. Any strong race could have crushed the Butterfly race like ants. The Butterfly race, though weak, is not foolish. Their choice at that time was unwise, but fortunately, the human race recovered, and the Butterfly race grew stronger with the help of the human race. Unfortunately, due to their nature, the Butterfly race's strength has its limits. Helping them is a given, and action has already been taken. The two saint sovereigns were discussing the extent of the help. Their opinions were somewhat divided on this issue. The Hao Saint Sovereign suggested exterminating the Python race, while the Tian Saint Sovereign thought it would be enough to drive the Python race away. After all, the human race had no enmity with the Python race. Just then, Lin Moyu arrived, and the Tian Saint Sovereign turned to him. Moyu, what do you think is the best course of action? Lin Moyu had fully understood the situation and already had an idea in mind. I think we should bring the butterfly race over and give them a piece of land on the edge of the human star domain. The butterfly race doesn't have many people. They won't need more than 100 star systems. The Saint Sovereigns were surprised by Lin Moyu's suggestion. The Hao Saint Sovereign said, bringing them over is not difficult. 100 star systems is a bit much, but it's not impossible. What about the Python race? Lin Moyu replied, simple, exterminate them. The Tian Saint Sovereign frowned, reason? Lin Moyu said, in the great world, it's either friend or foe. That's reason enough. After bringing the butterfly race over, their star system resources will belong to us. While we're at it, we can also exterminate the Python race and take their star system resources. This way, we not only gain a lot of resources but also expand our star domain. I got some information from Elder Shing. In the future, all small races will be exterminated. If we don't do it, others will. So I think, if they are friends, we protect them. If they are enemies, we exterminate them. It's that simple. The two Saint Sovereigns had heard of Elder Xing's prophecy. But the time Elder Shing mentioned was still 10,000 years away, a long time. In 10,000 years, they would no longer be around, and it would be up to the human Saint Sovereigns of that time to handle it. Lin Moyu didn't think so. I think we should act early and lay a foundation for future generations. When all the races start acting, there will be less meat for us to grab.